Discover the incredible moment a lonely CEO found unexpected love after receiving the wrong text. John Stevens, the iron-fisted CEO of a booming tech startup, sat alone in his sleek leather chair, scrolling through endless spreadsheets. The glow of his computer screen felt cold against his skin, illuminating a life of self-imposed isolation. At 38, with wealth towering above him like the Chicago skyline, he found himself yearning for something he had long buried: connection. The weight of his ambition had driven a wedge between him and his brother Danny, a struggling carpenter whose life seemed to echo the working-class roots they had both come from. One evening, as tiresome conference calls blurred into the background, his phone buzzed, jolting him from his solitude. It was a message that wasn't he meant for him.
Hey.
Sorry to bother you, but I really need help organizing a fundraiser for the kids at the community center. They deserve better, and their dreams should not be limited by their circumstances. Any chance you could lend a hand? John stared at the screen. A wrong number? He thought of ignoring it, but something about the raw urgency in her words tugged at his heart. With each passing second, it became harder to ghost the message. He found himself typing back, half expecting no reply. But Sarah responded, her bubbly spirit pouring through the screen as she shared her visions for the upcoming event. With every interaction, each heartfelt exchange peeled back layers of jaded corporate ambitions, revealing a forgotten part of him, the dreamer. As the days passed, John got lost in their conversations. Sarah's laughter was a light that illuminated the dark corners of his heart. When she invited him to the fundraiser, he hesitated, battling the image of the polished CEO he had crafted. But the thought of stepping into her world, a warmth so foreign yet inviting, became too tempting to resist. Yet beneath this newfound excitement loomed the discomfort with Danny. Their once cordial relationship had soured, mirroring John's split from their family roots. The more time he spent planning the fundraiser with Sarah, the more he felt the strain of his failings, not just as a brother, but as a person. Could he face Danny in this new light, with connections he had long forsaken? A question swirled in his mind as the event approached, and there it was, the day of the fundraiser. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and the sound of children's delighted cheers. John's heart raced, and he could hardly enjoy the vibrant energy around him. An email pinged on his phone, a reminder of the board meeting he'd scheduled for the same time. He stared at the screen, tempted to slip back into his other life. But then he caught Sarah's eye across the crowd, her smile radiating warmth, and he knew he couldn't go back. Suddenly, Danny appeared, tension thick in the air. The stern look on his brother's face said it all. He was struggling. Their eyes locked, a shared history weighing heavily between them. As the community reveled in togetherness, John felt a pang of something deeper, a yearning for the connections he traded for the cold comfort of success. With the joy of the crowd around him, John faced the hardest decision of his life. Could he abandon the cold allure of wealth to embrace the warmth of family and community? As laughter mingled with his pulse, he found himself standing at the edge of uncertainty. A life-altering choice loomed before him, one that could redefine everything he thought he wanted. Would he finally step into the light, or remain in the shadows of his own making? John's heart hammered in his chest as he stared at Danny. The years of silence, the missed birthdays, lost family dinners, all felt like an ocean crashing over him. Here was his brother, standing amidst the laughter, with a storm brewing in his eyes. The weight of their shared history pressed down on John like a heavy fog. If he didn't act now, would he lose Danny for good? "Hey, Danny," John started, his voice a whisper in the sea of noise. But the moment his brother turned toward him, all the words escaped his mind. "John." Danny's voice was steady, but behind it, John could hear the hurt. "You made it." "Yeah." First John scanned the crowd, desperately trying to shift the balance of the conversation, of everything that hung between them. "I wouldn't miss this." Danny glanced around, his gaze landing on Sarah, who was busy coordinating volunteers with an easy grace that only seemed to heighten John's admiration for her. "She has done a lot for this place," Danny remarked, not hiding the hint of jealousy.
How about you?
"Any contributions besides showing up?" John's stomach nodded. "I've been busy. but I want to help. Help? Danny shook his head, disbelief etched on his face. Do you even know the first thing about helping? A sharp silence enveloped them. The laughter around them faded into the background. John felt boxed in, cornered. He was tired of hiding behind his wealth and his title. This was about understanding, about family. Look, John took a step closer, lowering his voice. I know I haven't been there for you. I'm trying to that.
I'm not just the CEO.
I want to be your brother again. Danny's brow furrowed, skepticism shining through his expressions.
Talk is cheap, John.
Where were you when Dad was sick? When I needed you the most? Those words cut deep. John clenched his jaw, fighting back the surge of guilt flooding through him. You're right. I messed up, he admitted, his voice cracking just slightly. I thought that by making money, by being successful, I could make things better. But I see now that I was wrong. We need each other. I need you. Danny's eyes softened for a moment, the hardness receding like a tide. You really think showing up here is enough to fix things? John took a deep breath, the warmth of hope kindling within him. No, but it's a start. Let me help with this fundraiser. Together. Help me understand what I can do. The brief silence that followed weighed heavily, like the moment before a storm, as Danny searched John's gaze. All right, Danny finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. But don't think this means everything is okay. It's a long road. A thin smile broke through John's worry, a small beacon of possibility. I'm ready for it. As he glanced back at the crowd, Sarah caught his eye again, a shimmer of pride dancing in her smile. The noise flooded back in, laughter and joyous shouts, but now it felt different. It felt alive. What do you need me to do? John asked, turning toward Danny's side. First, let us get those kids some more supplies. Danny sighed, allowing a hint of a smile to appear. As they stepped forward together, the weight of the past lingered behind them, but hope glimmered ahead. John realized he was not just finding his way back to Danny, but also redefining what success truly meant. Just then, a loud cheer erupted from the children's area. Sarah was raising her hand, leading a game, her laughter ringing clear as a bell. Something in John shifted. He felt alive, connected, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel lost, but as the moment unfolded, a nagging question lingered. Could he truly bridge the gap between his old life and the new one he was beginning to build? As the sun began to set, casting warm hues across the community, John felt an answer teetering on the edge of his heart. Little did he know, his past was not done haunting him yet. An unexpected visitor would soon arrive, stirring deeper reflections on family loyalty, ambition, and love. What could this mean for John's new journey? John felt a gentle nudge in his side. It was Danny, and in that moment, the thick tension between them felt lighter, if only slightly. Come on then, let us grab those supplies, Danny said, motioning toward the makeshift storage tent that had been hastily set up on the edge of the park. As they walked, John looked around at the others preparing for the fundraiser. Children played nearby, their squeals of delight reminding him of simpler times. Guilt still nagged at him, a distant echo of missed opportunities. But right now, he pushed those thoughts aside. One step at a time, could he prove to Danny that he was serious about rebuilding their bond? What do you need me to carry? John asked, eager to contribute. Danny gestured to a stack of cardboard boxes, filled with art supplies. Just grab a few of those, he instructed, and John felt a rush of determination. With boxes in hand, John caught sight of Sarah again, her laughter brightening the atmosphere. She was engaged with some kids, teaching them how to make friendship bracelets. Her energy was infectious. It ignited something inside him, a longing for connection, not just with Danny, but with everyone around him. He approached her, adjusting the box under his arm. Looks like you've got this under control, he said, smiling at Sarah. Oh, just trying to keep up, she replied, her eyes sparkling. Want to help the kids out? Absolutely, he said, setting down the supplies. The simplicity of her smile made everything feel a little less complicated. Here, let me show you how to do this, Sarah said, guiding him to sit among the children. As they threaded strings and created colorful bracelets, John found joy in the laughter and creativity surrounding him. He looked around at the kids, each one beaming with pride at their creations. The moment felt pure, unfiltered. He was right where he needed to be. Danny positioned himself nearby, watching his brother with a critical eye. Every laugh John shared with the kids was both heartwarming and slightly unsettling to him. Was this really who John had become? The distance that had grown between them still loomed, but at least they were sharing something now. It felt like a sliver of hope. After a while, the kids' attention shifted to a large, colorful banner that had now been unfurled, announcing the fundraiser. John's heart picked up again. He caught Danny's eye. There was a flicker of something between them, a shared recognition that they both needed each other. Okay, so what's next? John asked once they moved away from the noisy excitement of the art table. Danny crossed his arms, considering. Now we need to set up the food tents. That part gets tricky, with all the volunteers.
Come on.
As they moved, the atmosphere shifted. John could feel the murmur of excitement gradually escalating. But with that excitement came vulnerability. He noticed several people whispering, pointing, and looking in his direction. Was it his imagination, or could he feel judgments piercing through the festive air? People always look, Danny said, catching John's unfocused gaze. Just keep your head up. Right, John replied, trying to shake off the unease. But as they approached the food tents, that nagging feeling returned. He felt exposed. His past was like a shadow, always lingering just beyond his sight. And then the unexpected happened. A figure appeared on the outskirts of the event, hesitant but unmistakable. As John squinted through the crowd, his heart dropped. It was Lisa, his ex-partner, the one person he hadn't been prepared to see today. What was she doing here? Danny's voice trailed off as he noticed where John's attention lay. Just give me a second, John said, feeling a wave of panic wash over him. As Lisa approached, the laughter and joy around him faded, leaving only the looming question. Could his past jeopardize the hope he was trying to build? In this pivotal moment, decisions made long ago collided violently with the present, ushering in a breathless uncertainty. What would she say? And more importantly, what would it mean for the journey he was just beginning? John felt his heart race as Lisa drew closer. Memories surged through him, and he couldn't shake the sense of dread. She had been a bright spot in his life, but that brightness had turned to darkness when their relationship unraveled. Now, as she approached with a cautious smile, he felt trapped between the past that had hurt him and the fragile hope he clung to for the future. She looked as striking as ever, her long hair catching the breeze, framing a face that once meant everything to him. What was she thinking showing up here? Did she know how hard he'd worked to carve out a new life for himself? John, she said, her voice soft but firm. I didn't expect to see you here. Yeah, it's a fundraiser for the community, he replied, trying to keep his tone neutral. Danny was standing beside him, tension radiating off his body. He could feel his brother's anxiety mingling with his own. It looks great, Lisa replied, her gaze taking in the chaos of laughter and colors around them. I'm glad to see you're involved. Just trying to help out, John said, keeping his response short. The past felt so heavy, and yet he didn't want to create a scene. People were still watching, and whispers were swirling. Can we talk? Lisa's expression shifted, and he realized her smile faded slightly, replaced by a look of sincerity. He hesitated, glancing at Danny, who was silently urging him to say no. But part of him was curious about what she wanted. Was this a chance to clear the air? Or was it just a reminder of everything he had lost? Sure, he finally mumbled, unable to find his voice in the weight of the moment. They stepped away from the crowded area, moving toward a quieter corner beneath a large oak tree. The rustling leaves provided a slight shield from prying eyes, but the silence felt suffocating. How have you been? Lisa began, her voice tentative, like she was testing the waters. It's been all right. The word felt hollow as it left his lips. He wanted to say more, to show her that he wasn't the same man who had fallen apart when they broke up, but vulnerability seemed like a burden right now. "I'm glad to hear that," she said, her gaze softening. "I know things ended badly between us, and I regret how everything turned out. Maybe if we talk, do you really think we can just talk, and everything will magically get better?" John interrupted, his voice sharper than he intended. "It's not that easy, Lisa. You know the mess we left behind." "I do," she said, taking a small step back, eyes cast downward. "But I'm here because I want to try and make amends. I miss the friendship we had. I miss you." The honesty hung in the air like an unspoken promise. John could feel old wounds stirring, emotions he thought he had buried long ago clawing their way back to the surface. "I can't just forget," John replied, his voice now barely above a whisper. "You left when I needed you the most." "I know, and I'm so sorry," she rushed out. "I'm not expecting you to forgive me right away, but I do like the chance to explain. Maybe just hear me out?" John's heart was torn. The laughter and joy from the fundraiser felt distant now. Would he really invite confusion back into his life when he was finally starting to find peace? But there was a part of him, a little flicker of hope, that wanted to understand. "Okay," he finally said, bracing himself for whatever came next. "Let us talk." As they began to share their truths, John's mind reeled. What would this mean for his commitment to Danny? Could he risk the fragile connection he was forging with his brother for a glimpse of the past? The sun dipped low in the sky, shadows lengthening, and with every word exchanged, John felt the weight of the moment build. What had he gotten himself into? The clock was ticking, and the possibility of rekindled relationships loomed. Could he navigate this current storm without losing what he was slowly piecing together? What would come of this decision? The warm hues of twilight wrapped around them, and as John stood beneath the oak tree, it felt like the world had faded away. The sound of laughter and music from the fundraiser felt far away, like a distant party that he would never truly belong to. Now it was just him and Lisa. Lisa started, her voice trembling slightly. "There is so much I've wanted to say. I've thought about this moment countless times." She paused, collecting herself. "After we broke up, I felt lost. Everything hit me like a wave, and I didn't know how to handle it." He shifted his weight, feeling the tension knot inside him. "You think it was easy for me?" He shot back, unable to hold back the floodgate of buried emotions. "You walked out.
Just like that.
I was left to pick up the pieces." "I know," she whispered, tears threatening to spill from her eyes. "And I regret it every day."
I was scared, John.
"I didn't know how to be there for you when I felt so broken myself. I was so focused on my pain, I didn't realize I was pushing you away." Her vulnerability caught him off guard. John had always seen her as the strong one, confident, determined. To see her bare this side felt almost foreign, yet it tugged at something deep inside him. How could he reconcile the woman standing before him with the memories of the hurt she had caused? "We had something special," Lisa continued, her voice steadying. "And I can't help but wonder what could have been if I hadn't let my fears control me." "Yeah, well, what's done is done," he replied, bitterness bubbling up. "Can we just magically fix it? Can a few words erase everything?" "I don't expect that," Lisa clarified, her gaze piercing through him. "But I want to try. Not to restart our past or relive it. Just to be honest and maybe find some closure." John felt torn. He could see the sincerity in her eyes, but could he really expose himself to her again? Just the thought of reopening old wounds sent a chill down his spine. Memories of late-night conversations, laughter over shared dinners, and the warmth they once had made his heart ache. I've been working hard to rebuild my life," John said, his voice growing softer. "Danny and I are finally getting along. I can't afford to lose that." "I get it," she said quickly, stepping closer. "But don't you see? This isn't about disrupting your new life. I don't want to take anything away from you. I just want you to know I'm truly sorry and that I've changed." John watched her. The wind picked up slightly, rustling the leaves overhead, a gentle reminder of time moving on. The uncertainty wrapped around him like a fog. Part of him wanted to scream and shout all the injustices of their past, while another part yearned to hear her out. What if there was a chance? What if, just maybe, they could come to understand each other and find healing? But then again, what if this was only a slippery slope filling him with false hope? I don't know if I can trust you again, he finally admitted, vulnerability cracking through his walls. But I do owe you a chance to speak your truth. As the last rays of sun dipped below the horizon, he wondered if opening that door was risking another heartbreak, or if it could be the first step toward peace for both of them. Something in his gut told him to be wary, but the intrigue of rekindling something lost also held intoxicating promise. In that moment, as they stood locked in a fragile standoff, John realized that the path ahead might be more complicated than he ever imagined. I guess we'll find out together, he said, holding his breath in anticipation, and in that moment of reckoning, the stakes felt higher than ever. What had he agreed to, and could he really navigate back to solid ground? The air hung thick with possibility as they prepared to dive deeper into a past that could either shatter him anew or somehow, surprisingly, set them both free. The silence stretched between them, thick and pulsing, mingling with the fading light. Lisa's hands fidgeted at her sides, and he could sense her wrestling with her thoughts. He took a deep breath, the scent of damp earth and pine filling his lungs, grounding him in the chaotic moment. Can we just start from the beginning? She suggested, her voice softer now, almost a whisper. As if we don't have all that baggage between us? John hesitated. You mean, like pretend none of this ever happened? He shook his head, disbelief flickering over his features. That's not real, Lisa. Those memories are part of us now. I'm not asking to forget, she replied, stepping closer, courage flashing in her eyes. I want us to talk about those memories. The good ones, too. The moments we laughed together, felt alive. We can remember the pain, but also what brought us joy. He couldn't help but reflect on their shared moments, birthdays celebrated, the cozy nights curled up on the sofa, the way her laughter used to light up his world. But those memories were intertwined with their heartbreak, a tangled mess of joy lost in sorrow. What if those memories hurt too much? He countered, uncertainty creeping back in. Then we'll face it. Together, she declared, her gaze unwavering. You invited me back here for a reason. I truly believe we haven't exhausted our story yet. Maybe it hasn't ended. Maybe it's just waiting for us to write a new chapter. The weight of her words settled over him like a warm blanket of hope. Could this be a path forward? Was she truly ready to explore the depths of their past, not to resurrect it, but to rearrange its fragments into something new? Then a thought struck him. What if he was just a stepping stone for Lisa's healing? The last refuge while she figured herself out. He swallowed hard, fighting off the bitterness that began to brew again. And what if you find what you're looking for, but it's not with me? Her eyes softened, and she reached out, her fingers brushing against his arm. I can't answer that right now. But I know you matter. You've shaped who I am, whether I wanted to admit it or not. I can't go back, but I want to walk this new path from here. The warmth of her touch sent shivers racing across his skin. It was electric, vivid, and terrifying all at once. John found himself yearning for a connection that he thought was lost forever, questioning if it could ever truly be there again. My heart, it feels like a minefield, he confessed, the vulnerability spilling over. Every step feels risky, every word weighed with the past. I understand, she murmured, stepping even closer. But sometimes, love comes with danger. Sometimes it's raw and uncertain. But isn't it worth finding out if we can heal together? To see if we can redefine our story? John felt the urge to pull back, to raise the walls around his heart again, but the sincerity in her eyes held him captive. They stood on the precipice of possibility, the chasm of their history stretching wide, but the light of hope flickering in the depths beneath it. After moments that felt like eternities, he sighed deeply. Okay, let us talk. Let us face the past head-on and see what remains, he said, unsure if he was taking a step toward healing or another plunge into heartbreak. With a slight smile breaking through their shared tension, Lisa nodded.
Thank you, John.
As they began to share their stories, bringing both pain and laughter back to the surface, the night wrapped around them in a blanket of stars. Slowly, the world outside faded further into the backdrop, and for that moment, all that remained was their fragile connection, ready to be redefined. But even as they spoke, a nagging doubt crept in the back of John's mind. Is it possible to rebuild trust from broken pieces? And somewhere in the shadows of the oak tree, a familiar figure watched, raising questions about their past decisions, stirring the waters of their present. What secrets lingered around the corner, waiting to disrupt this fragile moment? The stars glittered overhead, but the air between John and Lisa felt heavy, charged with unsaid words and mounting tension. As they sat beneath the sprawling oak, John took the plunge, recalling a night long ago, one that had shaped their love in ways both beautiful and tragic. "Do you remember that camping trip?" he asked, a faint smile creeping onto his lips. "The one you insisted on organizing? You swore you could set up the tent like a pro?" Lisa chuckled, the sound light and warm, momentarily dispelling the weight that hung between them. "Yeah, I went all in on survival mode, only to realize I brought no matches to light the fire." "It was so typical of you," he teased gently. "But then again, you used your creative charm to convince a random hiker to lend us some. The way you smiled at him, like you won him over just by being you, it was amazing to watch." Her laughter blossomed like a flower in spring, bright and hopeful. "He probably thought I was a disaster at first. But that's how I've always been, right?" She paused, and for a moment, shadows flickered across her face. "I thought that was the best part of our time together, what we built in the middle of nowhere, a little sanctuary from the chaos." The warmth in John's chest flared, mingling with a new pang of sorrow. He didn't want those memories to fade. They held the beauty of moments when everything felt right, but it was uncertain whether they could ever reclaim it. "And that sanctuary crumbled along with us, didn't it?" he said softly, his voice heavy with acknowledgement. Both of them winced at the reminder of their imploding relationship, the misunderstandings, the silence that grew louder with every argument. It hurt. Yet, even in that pain, he caught a glimmer in her eyes, a flicker of resilience. "But it doesn't have to stay that way. We can build something new, can't we?" she implored, her sincerity carving deeper into his guarded heart. Her gaze was like a lifeline, and despite the trepidation clawing at him, he found himself wanting to reach out. "What if we fall again? What if we end up right back where we started?" he asked, the fear spilling out as he confronted his own vulnerability. "But what if we don't?" she challenged gently. "What if we transform instead? The past won't disappear, but it can guide us. I want to be brave enough to see what could grow from these ashes." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, the memories of joy began to intertwine with the hope for the future. A profound ache settled in John's chest, both sweet and terrifying. It was a leap of faith he hadn't expected to take, a possibility blaring like a siren, like the chance to walk through the storm together or become strangers to each other again. Just then, a rustle from the shadows made him jump, his heart racing. They turned as a figure stepped from behind the tree, a familiar face. A face that held secrets, both past and present. The tension shifted, swirling once again into a storm as recognition washed over John. "Hey," the newcomer called out, their voice cutting through the delicate air. "Mind if I join you?" Lisa's expression changed in an instant, a mix of surprise and unease brewing in her eyes. John felt the sense of stability they'd begun to build waver softly, overshadowed by the sudden arrival. Silence enveloped them, but no one dared to break it. "What do we do now?" he thought, staring at the figure with a mix of fear and curiosity, a sense of dread seeping back into the mix. And in that moment, John knew everything had shifted once more. Would this unexpected appearance shatter the fragile connection he and Lisa were beginning to forge, and even more, would it reveal truths that could forever alter their paths? The figure stepped closer, the moonlight revealing a face John had tried to forget. Ben, an old friend, but also someone who had been an unexpected catalyst to John's past heartaches. Dressed casually, Ben's presence felt both comforting and intrusive, reshaping the atmosphere in a heartbeat. "Whoa, didn't he mean to interrupt?" Ben said, holding up his hands in a playful surrender. I just thought I'd take a walk and saw you too. Thought it'd be nice to reconnect. Reconnect? John bristled at the word. The last time they had seen each other, it had ended in a sour confrontation fueled by jealousy and misguided loyalty. But there was Lisa, her curiosity piqued, lowering her gaze from John to Ben, an unspoken question hanging in the air. Yeah, sure, Lisa finally said, attempting to ripple the tension. We were just reminiscing about old adventures. Her voice trailed off, uncertainty creeping back in as she shifted in her seat. Adventures? Ben questioned, stepping fully into their circle. I'd love to hear about those. Ben's easily charming demeanor made John's stomach churn. It felt like inviting a wolf into their fragile sanctuary. How could he be so casual? We were just, Lisa interrupted, clearly catching the panic in John's eyes. We were talking about the camping trip, she said, her tone warm, but the corner of her mouth tightened, revealing her discomfort with Ben's sudden intrusion. Ben chuckled, the familiarity in his laughter causing John's heart to race. I remember that trip. You two were complete chaos. His eyes lit up as he turned to John. You camping in the woods was like watching a sitcom unfold. Yeah, classic John, Lisa chimed, her laughter dancing in the night air. John forced a smile, but he couldn't shake the unease curling in his gut. As they exchanged jokes and old tales, John felt like he was watching a scene happen without him. The laughter was sweet, but he missed the moment they had just shared, the fragile thread they were starting to weave back into their lives. With every story shared, John felt Ben inch closer to becoming the third wheel, the shadow lurking at the edges of their rebirth. You know, Ben said, his tone suddenly turning sincere, I've really missed you guys. It's good to see you together. There was warmth in his voice, yet it cut through John like ice. What did he mean by together? The moment hung heavily. Lisa was still holding on to some of that sweetness, smiling at Ben like they were friends. But John felt the landscape shifting beneath him. He wanted to scream, to reclaim the connection he and Lisa had begun just moments before. Instead, he sat there, quietly wrestling with his fears. As they continued to talk, he felt the warmth between him and Lisa flicker, threatened by the weight of unresolved issues and unspoken fears. Would Ben's presence shroud the possibility they had grasped? Then, there was a sudden shift in Lisa's expression. John, she said, her voice low, almost hesitant, can we talk? Just for a minute? The look in her eyes ignited something within John. She was still reaching for him, still pulling him away from the murky waters of their past, despite Ben being right there. Relief washed over him, quickly followed by the trepidation of what their conversation might unleash. Yeah, of course, he managed to say, feeling an odd mixture of hope and dread. He glanced at Ben, expecting an objection, but instead found him watching, a knowing look on his face. As they stepped away from the light, John's heart raced. This was the moment of truth. What would she say? What revelation hung on the edge of her lips waiting to be voiced? They found a quiet spot beneath the oak, the stars twinkling above like a map waiting to be discovered. The air felt electric, and John could hardly breathe. What do you want to talk about? He finally asked, his voice a whisper against the backdrop of the night. Lisa hesitated, her brow furrowing. It's about us, and what this is becoming. Before John could do more than hold his breath, an urgent sound interrupted them, a shrill ring cutting through the silence. It was Ben's phone. He pulled it out, his expression shifting. Sorry, I need to take this, he said, stepping away but leaving a widening gap between John and Lisa. John felt the weight of uncertainty settle over him again. Just when they were about to bridge that intimate gap, the world outside encroached once more. As he watched Ben walk off, John couldn't shake the feeling that the night was unraveling. Would their moment disappear into the vastness of what-ifs? Or would this distraction be the catalyst for a deeper understanding between them? Lisa took a deep breath, her eyes shining with determination, and said softly, "There's something I need to tell you." What could she possibly reveal that might change everything again? John's heart raced. This was just the beginning, and he braced for whatever came next. Lisa leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper as the cool night air wrapped around them. John, I've been thinking a lot about us, about everything that happened back then. Her eyes searched his, pulling him in like a tidal wave, each word heavy with meaning. John's heart thudded in his chest. What do you mean, everything? He remembered the words they'd exchanged at the end, the tension that had built between them leading to that painful farewell. Would she bring it all back up to the surface? We never got the chance to talk it through, she said, her voice trembling slightly. You left without really knowing why I distanced myself. A lump formed in John's throat. He could feel the heat behind his eyes, but he forced himself to maintain focus. I thought I understood. I thought you wanted to move on. I did, but not in the way you think, she said, taking a hesitant step closer to him, the very distance caused by Ben's interruption dwindling. I needed to figure things out for myself. I wasn't sure if I could let you back in. And then everything just happened fast. John took a breath, his pulse quickening. But I've been trying to reach you. To show you that I'm different now. I see that, she exclaimed, a mix of frustration and longing punctuating her voice. But then Ben showed up, and all those confusing feelings resurfaced. The past threatened to spill over, and I didn't know how to handle it. John's gaze drifted back to where Ben was pacing, oblivious to the conversation he could only hope would change everything. You're still worried about him? No. She shook her head vehemently, the sincerity in her voice cutting through the air. It's not him I'm worried about. It's us. Can we move past the hurt? Can we even trust each other again? With every word that fell from her lips, the heavy burden of doubts that had shadowed John began to lift. There was hope like a soft glow rekindling in his chest. I want to try again, Lisa. I want to be the person you can count on. The stars shimmered above, witnesses to their shared moment of truth. He reached out, brushing his fingers against hers. It was a small gesture, yet it sent a jolt of electricity between them, igniting the space that had felt so cavernous just moments before. I need you to mean that, she whispered, her breath hitching slightly. I need to know it's real. I promise. I'm here now. I'm all in. As they lingered there, vulnerability hanging in the air, a sudden sound shattered the intimacy, the sharp crack of a branch snapping in the dark. Both of them jumped back, and John instinctively glanced around as he felt the warmth of apprehension creep back in. What was that? Lisa squeaked, her wide eyes scanning the shadows. John didn't answer immediately. He felt the nostalgia of the camping trip creeping back in adventures and fears mingling in a swirl of memories.
Just a raccoon or something. Probably.
But another sound echoed through the trees, clearer this time. It was a heavy thud, reverberating in the stillness of the night, and it was closer. The anxiety surged through John now, pulling him back from the fragile epiphany he and Lisa had just shared. John, we should get back to Ben, she urged, her voice now tinged with worry. No, he said firmly, needing to stand guard against whatever was coming. We can't let him pull us back in.
Not now.
They were at a crossroads between the tumultuous past and a fragile potential future. But as another thud sounded, closer still, the night felt charged with something sinister. John's instincts kicked in. He needed to protect Lisa, and possibly the connection they were rebuilding. What if it's nothing? She asked, uncertainty lacing her tone. What if it's not? Just then, a shadow moved between the trees. John's heart raced, the calm they had momentarily found slipping away. Was it the night's threats that would come between them again? Stay close, he urged, a protective instinct surging through him. What could be lurking in the shadows? Would this night deliver another blow to their fragile connection, or could the strength of their bond withstand the tumult? The tension crackled in the air as John and Lisa stood beneath the oak tree, fear mixing with a hope that had just begun to bloom. The ominous thuds, closer now, rattled John's thoughts, pulling him from the fragile moment they had fought so hard to reclaim. He had finally opened up, began to heal, and here was another storm threatening to sweep it all away. John, what if it's dangerous? Lisa whispered, her eyes wide with worry. The chilling sound drew nearer, and instinct kicked in. The weight of his responsibility to protect Lisa felt paramount. He needed to shield her from whatever emerged from the shadows. "We'll figure it out together," he replied, unable to mask the urgency in his voice. He reached for her hand, squeezing it firmly, establishing a tether between them as a knot of concern twisted in his stomach. "Don't let fear pull you away from me." As they moved cautiously toward the source of the noise, the cool night air swirled around them, thick with uncertainty. Every step felt monumental, a defining moment in their shared journey fraught with the echoes of their past. They inched closer, and suddenly, a figure burst through the brush. It was Ben, panting slightly, eyes wide with excitement.
Hey.
"You guys won't believe this," he exclaimed, completely oblivious to the tension. "I found the projector. We can show that slideshow of the kids at the fundraiser." Relief flooded through John S. veins, mixed with a rush of frustration. How could Ben interrupt the moment that felt so pivotal? John could feel the warmth of the vulnerability that had just ignited between him and Lisa dimming, but he couldn't deny there was a spark of urgency in Ben's voice. "Yeah, that's great, Ben," John said, trying to sound supportive while holding onto Lisa's hand tighter. He could see the glimmer in her eyes shift from concern to confusion. "Let us get back to them," Lisa suggested, casting a glance toward the distant laughter and celebration that had initially drawn John away from his boardroom life. The vibrant energy of the fundraiser was like a lifeline, beckoning them back into the community's embrace. "Right, let us be part of that," John said, releasing a breath he realized he was holding as they made their way back. John tried to shake off the lingering agitation. The stars shone above as a reminder that life was illuminating yet complicated. They rejoined the festivities, where laughter bounced off the trees and children's cheerful shouts filled the night air. But amidst the joy, an urgency bubbled beneath the surface. John turned to Lisa, and her gaze held something profound. "We'll talk more later, right?" she asked, her voice steady but hopeful. "Definitely," he replied, letting his heart speak louder than the shadows of doubt trying to creep back in. This moment wouldn't slip away again. They worked together, reconnecting with the joyful atmosphere around them as they moved to help set up the slideshow. The projector whirred to life, casting light that danced over the community gathered around, faces illuminated with anticipation. Moments later, as images flickered to life, showing the children's laughter, the beauty of hope unveiled in front of them, John felt an incredible wave of emotion. He turned to Sarah from the fundraiser, beaming with pride. She caught his eye, and John realized how integral she had become in this journey of transformation. But then, in the midst of the presentation, John's gaze shifted to Danny, who stood nearby, arms crossed, brow furrowed. Their eyes met, an acknowledgement passed that still held much unsaid. "You okay?" John mouthed, and to his surprise, Danny nodded, a hint of a smile creeping onto his face. As the slides progressed, the images of community engagement sparked excitement. John felt renewed by the joy around him and the bonds he was beginning to mend. But as powerful as these moments were, a lingering question remained: could he balance all of it? The excitement of new beginnings, the rawness of reuniting with his brother, and now rekindling a connection with Lisa? As he turned back to her, she had joined Danny, talking earnestly. Watching them, he felt hope reignite. Could he really learn to embrace this newfound family? Was the hard work ahead simply another adventure waiting to unfold? Later that night, as the stars twinkled brightly overhead, John found himself standing next to Lisa again, a sense of calm enveloping them. Their hands brushed together, a spark igniting once more. The love he thought had withered didn't need to be lost in the shadows. It could be sculpted into something beautiful. "Here's to second chances," Lisa murmured, her playful spirit shining through. "Here's to being brave," John responded, feeling an undeniable warmth envelop their connection. They stood beneath the vast sky, blinking away tears not of sorrow, but of realization. That moment, his heart swelled with gratitude for the journey, every adverse twist, every rain-soaked night, every painful choice. It was all part of something bigger. "I choose connection," he said softly, looking into Lisa's eyes, seeing both past and future at once. And as they absorbed the joy and laughter that surrounded them, John knew they were not alone. The community, their siblings, and unexpected friendships flourished under the stars, reminding him that maybe, just maybe, success was not built on isolation but on the love shared with one another. As the night unfolded, laughter punctuating the air, John breathed deeply, embracing the vibrant future that lay ahead. So, what will you do next? This is the moment to take control over your own journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. Don't hold back. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of keeping this community alive.